Hello, welcome to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is the Author's Corner, Meet the Author, and I'm Cece Shatz, and I am so pleased to be with you here today. Those of you that don't know me, I am a host, and I'm the Doyenne of relationship building, and I'm a divorce, dating, and a life coach. I'm also the president of the Going Solo Network. You can find all of our information right there on goingsolonetwork.com, connecting singles each and every day. You'll see at the top, goingsolomedia.com. That's where all of our media is. So all of our wonderful shows, hosts, and all of those that you want to connect with, including this show, will be played there. So we want to make sure that you have it. We are live here on our Facebook page, also a few other pages that we share it with, and we're also live on YouTube. Then we'll be on Roku. So we are so pleased that Roku and Amazon TV have accepted us with open arms, and we're about almost 2 million listeners there. And so we are very, very, very proud and very honored to be able to have that. But let's get on with it. Just one really quick thing we've got to say. Our show is sponsored by goingsoloCommunity.com and meettheright1.com. I am affiliated with both of those websites, love them dearly. And so check them out, goingsoloCommunity.com and meettheright1.com. But let's get on with our author today, because we have a very special individual here with us. Hello, Steve. How are you?
I'm excellent, Cece.
It is so great to have you. We have Steve Marcantelli. I'm saying it wrong?
Martile.
Martile. We've got that, Steve Martile. But I tell you what, his book is just outstanding. It's called The 7-Day Manifest Experiment. I mean, I tell you what, I read a little bit more about this book. I have not read it in person, but I plan to do it because I really think that it creates shift in your life. And so I want to thank you, number one, for being with us today. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Pleasure to be here.
It is great having you. So now tell us a little bit about you. You actually, let's see, you were a mechanical engineer, and then you became a life coach. So tell us about that shift that happened in your life and why you decided to write such an awesome book.
Awesome. Thanks, Cece. So this has been a 13 or I guess 9-year journey, right? So I created the video for the actual 7-day manifestation experiment, which was the original concept that I shared on YouTube back in 2013. It's got almost 500,000 views. But if I were to backtrack, probably 6, 7, 8 years before that, what had happened was I was actually working as a mechanical engineer in Toronto, and I'd been working at this job for about 2 years. And something interesting happened inside me. There's always there's two things that can happen. Something outside happens, your circumstance changes, and then you change, or something inside happened. In this case, it was something inside. And the inside that changed was, my inside was screaming to be more adventurous, explore, be more creative. And the outside of me was stay in a good paying job, follow the rules, don't upset anyone, don't speak up, those sorts of things, because you don't want to shake the boat, rattle the boat, and or make someone else upset. And so the programming that I had been conditioned with was being overcome by this overwhelming light, this overwhelming experiencer that was looking for more. And so I remember, though, actually working in this job, there was 2 guys that I was they were engineers as well, and they were my supervisors. And I had the disease to please, right? So I was trying to keep both of them happy. So I'd go in one meeting and I'm working with the one guy, and he's like, okay, these are all our priorities for the next year. These are the projects you're going to be working on. Literally leave that meeting, half an hour later, step into another meeting with the other guy, and it's a whole list of different list of priorities. And I'm it was driving me nuts because I was trying to keep both of them happy. And it wasn't, and that's the problem. I was trying to keep other people happy. It was a disease to please. So eventually what happened, and I ended up taking a couple courses. One of the first ones I took was the Landmark Forum, and which is Landmark Education, the former S training. And this was 2006. And I remember taking the training, and the first month we were going into these coaching groups. So we basically had a big group of 100, 150 people breaking into these smaller groups of 10. And what happened was, again, so, it's something on the outside or something on the inside happens. At this point, I had kind of chosen a direction. I was like, okay, I want to explore more about who I am and my potential. And so I'm in this course, and we get to our like first week of like working with the training we've been given. And the one person who was the leader of our group didn't show up. She actually quit. She left. And so everyone's kind of looking around. There's a group of 10 of us. It's like, who's going to be the leader? And I was like, I put my hand up right away. Not that I wanted to be the leader. I could care less about that. But I knew the leader got to do coaching. And I fell in love with coaching. It was better than breathing. So I started coaching people, and I realized that by like just seeing the potential in them, I was able to help them. And so long story short, I ended up working as a coach, getting paid as a coach, but it wasn't enough to pay the bills. I hadn't figured out the business model. I did end up going back as an engineer, but back to when I was working as an engineer, I was getting into more marketing and sales. And one of my first clients actually that ended up taking me out of the job was I'd worked with 4 different construction companies because they were in engineering. And I was like, it was interesting because they were in the construction field, and which was part of the engineering field. And I was like, I can help these guys with their marketing. So my first 4 clients ended up making 6 figures the first year. And that was when I finally got out of my job and into a role where I was actually being an entrepreneur. And so fast forward a little bit further, then I actually came out with the book and decided to write it. But yeah, that was the transition I went through at that time.
Yeah, that's wonderful. I also participated in that coaching. We had it here, and a friend of mine was doing it at the Landmark, and
Cool.
I participated in a few that I thought was very good company, very, very good. And but it's amazing though, isn't it, how your life will shift if you just allow that mindset, right? If you allow that door to open for you. And I can so relate, because when I first started the business here with the Going Solo Network, a lot of people said, oh no, don't do that. Stick with what you're familiar with, the steady job and all this kind of stuff. And but my heart wasn't there, right? And so if your heart's not there, your mind's not there. You're always thinking, oh, what if I, could do something else or whatever. You don't have that you're not satisfied, right? You still have that craving that there's something more in life that you're supposed to do. And I think many, many people, especially as they're traveling through in our area here, traveling from, really stepping into a new life of being single, having the doors open to manifest maybe what it is that they truly desire in life, that they can move forward. I think your book is really spot on, very much spot on. So let's talk a little bit about, manifesting, because I was reading some of the things like you said that your book would do for you: developing, empowering self-confidence, use your imagination to attract miracles within your life. So let's talk a little bit more about these type of things. So how could one actually, manifest or create this, this imagination of something better that's going to happen in their life?
So there's a couple of angles to take this, and I'm going to start with one that really helped me. And it's like, just understand like what the human body really is, and understand that like we have a pineal gland, which is this gland in the brain. And if you do any sort of research online on it, you'll discover that even the ancients were talking about this, is that it's a transmitter. It's a transmitter of sending and receiving signals. And so if you get into deep states of trance, you can send signals through the pineal gland to what we'll call the creator, for a better word, that then responds with either new ideas, informations, or circumstances that change in your life. So the key is to use this deep trance state to activate the pineal gland to send signals and receive information. And I go into the quote unquote science of it a little bit in the book in the later chapters, but not too much to be boring, but just enough to be like, it's an understanding of the human body. And so what I will say on your show today, Cece, is that when you're doing these deep trance states and you're doing this very deep breathing, it's a very deep, and then exhale, what happens is that there's a spinal fluid that goes up from the bottom basically of your spine all the way up into the brain. It brings spinal fluid into the brain. And the rate at which that fluid goes into the brain is very slow. But when you start doing these very deep breaths, what happens is the spinal fluid starts to speed up. And as the speed up of the spinal fluid, the velocity goes up. And this is my mechanical engineering background. But as the velocity goes up, well, the pressure that you exhibit on the pineal gland also goes up. And someone who's in engineering would appreciate, yeah, the velocity goes up and the pressure goes up.
Right.
What's interesting is that when the pressure goes up, this pineal gland has tiny crystals. And the crystal is a piezoelectric sensor, meaning when you put pressure on it, it converts mechanical pressure into EMFs. So by going to the state where you're pressurizing the pineal gland, you're creating EMFs that you then transmit and send as a signal. Now, when you're in this deep trance state again, that I talk about in the book, and you're sending these signals, all you need to do is get in a state of, you talked about it, being satisfied. I don't talk about gratitude so much in the book, although it is a part of it, but being satisfied, because that's a little closer to the state you want. You want to feel satisfied. And then picturing or verbalizing to yourself something to be satisfied about. And that's it. That's the signal that you're sending out. Now, during the waking day, when you go about your day and you're sort of like, okay, well, I sent out this intention and nothing's happening. You can't let your physical mind get in the way. Just be receptive to whatever shows up. And in a lot of cases, there's not much that you have to do. It will just drop into your lap. You have to take action, yes, but it's going to feel like something you will willingly want to do anyways. So the whole premise is that if you understand a bit more what the human body's designed for, it's basically a tool. It's not you. There's you, and then there's your body. The body's an avatar to play this game we call Earth Life. And so when you start to realize that you're just an avatar using this body to create and have experiences, then life gets a lot more interesting because you're like, okay, it's a tool, and understand how it works. So then I came up with the 7-day manifestation experiment, because it wasn't like, oh, you'll manifest something in 7 days. It's like, treat it like a pair of jeans, like an experiment. If you don't like them, take them off. Just make sure you put another pair of jeans on. But the key is to like, it's something that you try on and for 7 days and you see what happens. And initially, what happened was a lot of people started getting results from this very, very, very simple idea. And that was the reason I created the book, is I just wanted to open up for people, just be like, hey, I don't know what religious background or what belief system you have, but I can tell you this. If you are open to the idea that you affect your world and not that your world affects you, although it can happen both ways, what you'll find is that you'll get new insight, new information. Now, here's what I find really fascinating. So I'm working with this editor for the book, right? This is back in June. And the editor is very left-brained. You know, she's kind of like me in some ways, like very like engineering type, very technical, and she's an excellent editor. I'm actually going to use her for my next book. So we're talking through the process, and at the very end, our last session, she goes, you know what, Steve, after you share all the information in the book, she goes, I had to try it. So she goes, I ended up, doing what you said, following the 3 steps, which I can elaborate more on this call. And she goes, I was out with a hike with a friend of mine, and all I did in this process of like, okay, what do I want to create in this deep trance state is like just a cup of coffee, something believable, something simple that could show up. Someone will buy me a cup of coffee. She went for a hike. It was a Sunday. She went for a hike. She got back from the hike with her friend, and her friend's like, oh, do you want to go in here? It was sort of like a chapter. It was like a bookstore, and they went in, and it just happens there's a Starbucks there. And they just went to sit down. She totally forgot that she had visualized this idea, getting a coffee. And her friend goes to her, says, oh, did you want a coffee? She's like, sure. After she drank the coffee and finished it, she remembered. She's like, oh, that's what I had decided I wanted. So and it's funny because when we started working together, I said to Sarah, I said, my goal is to convince you, someone who's very logical, very grounded, very practical, that this will work. And it did. So I was like, my mission was accomplished. And I think that's what I want to do with the book, because I want it to reach more people, because I want even someone who's science-based to like look at it and be like, okay, I'm willing to like open my mind to this and see if this has any value and it can help my life. So that's how it all started.
I totally agree with that, because I know that when I was going through my divorce, which was probably one of the darkest times of my life, I had no idea what I was going to do, right? And so I kind of did the same thing, even though I didn't know the techniques like you're teaching in your book. I just knew that I had to start creating a mind shift to the positive of what I truly wanted in my life. And so, you know, so I started, thinking about what it was that I truly wanted and then focusing on that and being open-minded to it. If I had had your book, it would have sure made it easier for me, but it did create a new life for me to step into. And so, yeah, I mean, I like the idea of some positive steps that we can take, some positive action that we can create for ourselves to, and I think we do manifest, what we do think, that old saying, right? Stinking thinking, right? It
Stinking
can really
thinking.
bring you down.
When it really comes down to it, Cece, it's like if you really, really like take it just surface level, like not even dive into the concepts I talk in the book, it's like it really comes down to what you're focused on, and if you're not getting something you want right now, it's because of a lack of focus on it. It's the absence of the focus on it, and that's really what it comes down to. Now, there's deeper levels we can go into, is like limiting beliefs in terms of like emotional baggage that we all carry at some point in our lives. And what I can tell you is that the basic principle is that if something hasn't showed up in your life, it's because the absence of the focus on that thing. And when I say the focus, I mean the focus of the fulfillment, feeling satisfied that it's in your sphere of reality. If you don't feel satisfied in that area of your life and you feel dissatisfied, that's what I'm talking about. A lack of focus on the satisfaction of it being in your life. So if it's money or relationships or travel or experience or adventure, it's because you're not focused on it. You're focused on the absence of it.
Right. And so often, we'll probably talk about that when we come back too, is so often when we do start focusing on it and the change starts happening to us, the doors start opening, then we don't walk through those doors. I used to do that all the time. I'm often tell, and you'll hear it on many shows. I'll say, the door, God will open the door for me wide open. I'll have all these great opportunities, but oh no, I got to climb through the window. I've got to make it hard for myself so that I've got to go around the long way or whatever. And so we have to kind of not only, I think manifest what we want in life, but we have to believe, right? And to be able to take that action as we move forward in it. So I think it's a great book. Let's talk a little bit about where we can get it. We can get it on Amazon. And let me tell you, you can get it in any country, any place. It's worldwide, right? Amazon. You just go to Amazon and get the book. I think you have it. Do you have it in other languages too, other than English, or?
Not yet. I'm actually talking about 16 different publishers for foreign rights publishing, but not yet. But that's definitely my plan. Yeah, to have it in other languages. I want to make it accessible as possible.
Right. Well, that would be great. But I tell you what, there's, all over the world, people speak English. And so you can get it right on Amazon, use it. Now, I also came up with this website that I found you in, freedomeducation.ca.
Yep.
So this website, I thought this was very interesting because you can go in there. It tells you a little bit more in depth about you, and Steve, we want to know a little bit more. We want to be able to connect with you because I think what you're sharing with the audience is truly wonderful. Also, it gives you a way to be able to contact you for your coaching. And we'll talk a little bit more about your coaching because I think it's important that individuals know that this is available, maybe even companies, right? You're coaching now that the coaching is available. And in today's world, I think we all need a helping hand. So it's wonderful to do that. So go into freedomeducation.ca. All the information is there. You just click on it. You can reach Steve, be able to have a conversation with him to go a little bit further with it. Buy the book on Amazon. I tell you what, I'm going to buy the book on Amazon because what I've read so far and contacted with you, it's definitely something that I feel I need a reinforcement in my life. Even if our lives are going kind of down the road we want them to go on. Like for me, things are really happening for me that is terrific. I'm so grateful and thankful that things are happening, but I still need that reassurance that something tangible to go to, right? And having a book so I could look at it and kind of keep that mindset positive to help me keep going in that right direction is really a good thing. So you all, the book is called The 7-Day Manifestation Experiment. So make sure that you get it, 7-Day Manifestation Experiment. and make sure you definitely go to Amazon and get the book. It's a great book. So thank you, Steve. We'll be right back. We got to take a quick commercial, and we'll be right back. Okay, so hang on there. Welcome back to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is the Author's Corner. Meet the author. I am Cece Shatz. I'm the Doyenne of Relationship Building. I tell you what, we've got a wonderful author here with us today. Steve is, make sure I say it right. Is it Martile?
Martile.
Martile. I'm getting really close. I'm getting closer.
It's all good.
I know it's terrible. I'm really bad. But I want everyone to know how to spell it. So you can go to Amazon. It's Steve, Steve, and then the last name is Martile, Martile. That's what it looks like right there. 7 days, a manifestation experiment. And so you want to make sure you get this book. You know, I think it's really going to shift people's lives. I really think it's going to help them. And I say that all the time. I want to make sure that we have good quality shows on with great authors. And our Author's Corner is really one of our popular shows. And so, because we really want to have quality individuals that not only have written a book, but they've also shared in that experience in their lives. And that's what I think has happened to you, right? You've actually created this book because of the experiences that you've actually created in your life, something you've done in your life to be able to make your life, shift in the direction that you want it to go in.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting, Cece, is I'm probably not your typical entrepreneur in this space, meaning my main income comes from another business that I partnered with an awesome guy that's from Utah, but lives in Las Vegas, married to another Canadian. And we work together, and I actually am pretty active in a sales role in that company, and I'm practicing this every day, right? So I didn't want to necessarily have to generate income from the book. This wasn't an income project for me. It was a passion project, and I just wanted more people to be aware of it. And I was like, I'm already using this. I already feel like I have a good sense of how to use it and create revenue, for example. And so in the book, I actually give quite a few good examples of, like, for someone who's an entrepreneur or a salesperson, like how you would use it, and I think that's important, because if it's not practical, then it's just, and that's why I introduced the science too. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I think you're so right, because years ago, I did sales and I kind of did an experiment on myself. I used to read a lot of books. I lived in England, and so we traveled a lot on the train, right? And so I spent a lot of time in the tube and stuff like that. And so I would read a lot of books. And so I always read self-help books, some that would be uplifting to me, would teach me something, that kind of thing. And so I did an experiment where I read these books, and then I did like the manifestation, I did this mindset of shifting my mindset and thinking positive or whatever I wanted to achieve. And I did really well. I was like the top salesperson. I did really, I was just banging it, doing a really good job. So then I decided, what? I'm going to stop reading, right? I'm going to stop reading those books. I'm just going to live life, just go through experiences and live life. My sales went right down the tube. And so I realized then that we are a well, right? And we have to continuously fill our well up to be able to move forward in our lives in a very positive way. We have to look at our surroundings, people that are with us. If they're negative or whatever, they're not going to uplift us, right? So there's a lot of areas within our lives that we can really take control of to create that shift that we want in our lives. And so I really love the idea of your book. So tell us a little bit about, we talked about the book, and we'll talk a little bit more about it too before we close out the show, but tell us a little bit about your coaching. What created that shift for you to be able to start, going into from, mechanical engineer into coaching?
Well, to be honest, it was because of this love for it, right? Like I just fell in love with it. And again, I talk about this in the book. Like when your heart, it's the most powerful magnetic field generator you have in the body, right? So when your heart is fully coherent, what happens is you get this 10-foot diameter magnetic field that you can measure outside your body that's influencing other people and yourself and your body and your cells, and non-locally as well. And so when you fall in love with something or someone, like what happens is that everything becomes coherent. And so that's what happened for me. I was like, oh, I feel alive. I'm like, I want to keep doing this, right? And so I've been doing it like, I'll give you a good example. So there was a woman, I do these sessions where we'll go into a deep trance to help people release emotional blocks in the past. And she had actually insomnia for a year. She's an IT professional American. And so we were talking and she said, I just haven't been sleeping. I have a newborn and I need to do something about it. And I said, well, I offer 100% money back guarantee. I said, if you're not thrilled, I'll give you your money back. And she decided, okay, I'm going to do this. So the first session we did 90 minutes. And at the end of it, I said, how do you feel? She said, yeah, I feel pretty good. And I said, okay, well, let's connect in a week and we'll see where you're at. So we get on our second call and I say, how have things been going? And she's like, I've been sleeping in every day through the alarm. And I was like, good. It's probably your body needs to actually, it needs to recharge because you haven't slept in over a year. So what I know is that like, if there's something that's like that impactful to people, I'm going to keep doing it. And that's why I have. So, and this is more about the second book about releasing these emotional baggage and blocks. But the reason I did the coaching is because, and it didn't happen overnight. It was over a period of years. And also I had to figure out the business model for it, is because it was just like, if I wake up and I feel like more alive, focused on that versus something else, then I'm going to do that. And, and over a period of years, also stop drinking coffee. I'll have the odd coffee. I'm not like a total anti-coffee person, but it's like, when you realize that food impacts your energy levels, then you start to be more selective of what food you're going to eat. In the same way with your career and what you want to do with your life, is there's certain activities that will resonate and fill you and create life in you and that those that don't. There's people like that as well. And so over time, what happens is, you get people in your life that just don't resonate with you anymore, don't connect with maybe your value system. And so they start to fall away. And over the years, that's what's just happened. And it just evolved as part of that. And I can't change who I am. And I think that's really what I'm saying, is that if you realize that there's certain foods or information or people that fill you up, then keep making that choice, because it'll become your destiny. You'll just automatically move in that direction, because you can't change who you really are inside. You can change your programming, you can change what you believe, but you can't change who you are. And I think over this process of helping other people has helped kind of take the layers off and reveal who I am. And that's why I do it.
Oh, that's beautiful. I tell you what, I know exactly what you mean. It's like I've often been told that, I'll go into a room or I'll be with someone and they'll say the energy that I have is so powerful. It's so attracting that people will come to me. And so, yeah, it's really important that we do surround ourselves with positive energy, with really good stuff. And I think that as we travel through, with our platform here, we have a lot of relationship loss, a lot of people suffering, going through a lot of pain, and a lot of transition in their life. And so when they start creating that shift in their lives where they realize that the transition is really a blessing and it's something that we can look forward to as we step forward into our lives, we can create and manifest what we truly want in our lives. And so your book, I believe, will help people with the elements of understanding about how to go about doing that, because it can be done. It certainly can be done. And so I think it's wonderful. And I like to see the idea that what you've taken and you're coaching and you're helping and sharing other people, and it's a wonderful thing. Absolutely wonderful. Now, do you did mention it was a lady, so you do individual coaching. Do you also do like business type of coaching at companies or things like that?
Not at this point, and I haven't really solicited or marketed for it because, like I said, I'm focused on this other business that I'm a partner in. But I would love to do some sales training and some sales coaching for individuals, like using these concepts, because I know it just transformed the entire company. But no, not at this point.
Right. I'd love to see that. Because I'm feeling like, we've taken this shift in our lives, right? With COVID, we've all moved towards the internet. I've been on the internet long before it was fashionable. And so now everyone's moving now towards it. But here's the thing is they don't quite know how to, they need coaching to be able to, how to really connect outside of not being with someone. How do you connect when you're online? How do you connect when you're on a camera? How do you really give out the energy that you have that's from within to be able to share with other people? So I could definitely see, a sales or something like that being able to accompany using you for something like that, because it is a transition that especially salespeople are in all the time. They're
Yeah,
trying to
absolutely. Now, speaking of, you were talking about transitions, it's interesting because I literally transitioned, I want to say 2 years ago, from one business to another. And during the transition, there's like this period of time where there's like no money coming in. Now, if you're not an entrepreneur, then maybe this is very foreign to you, or you haven't had that experience in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But it can be a scary time because you're just like, there's nothing coming in. For 6, 7, 8 weeks. And I just went through that again in the spring of this year, where there was like nothing coming in. And I remember talking to my wife about it, and I said, just be patient. I said, I know it's coming. And so there's this sense of knowing that all is well, right? And it was well. It was well. And things have been really awesome. I'm very grateful and appreciative and satisfied where I'm at. But what reason I bring up that point is that what I think happens for a lot of people is that they don't reframe the transition as a positive thing. And that's key, because when you get laid off from a job, which has happened to me, right? Or you lose a business partner, or you lose someone in your life, what's happening is, yes, there's a death of some part of you that's no longer required, maybe for the next part of your journey. But guess what happens? That opens up space and a vacuum for something new. So on one side of it, yes, it can be very sad and it can be even scary, but on the other side of it's like very exciting, because you don't know what's going to come in. It's usually something, what I can tell from my own experience, it's either something that you wanted or something better. So right. the key to being the transition is like, because like I said, I went through it again. I was like, I didn't have any fear the last time I went through it. I've kind of gotten a bit of sense of like, I don't want to say mastery, because I'm still here and I still got a lot to learn, but like a sense of peace over this transition period, being okay, there's the death of something new is going to birth up, and it's going to be even better than what I thought. And if you can take that vantage point or viewpoint, then the transitions are usually a lot less painful and also a lot more fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you are so right. You're so right. Well, I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap up the show. I love what you do. I tell you, we probably could go on for a long time talking about being able to manifest, really good positive things in our lives. So you guys, the book is called The 7-Day Manifest Experiment. You can find it right on Amazon. Just look up Steve, and the last name is Martile. You want to definitely do that. If you want to give him a call or talk to him or whatever, check out his website, which is freedomeducation.ca. freedomeducation.ca. Maybe look into doing some coaching with him, a few hours or whatever, whatever that you think you might need. But, get the book, try to figure out, reading it and figuring out how you can start your manifestation, how you can start doing it. And think about it, 7 days to shift your life, to change something, from maybe the negative to the positive. I mean, that if we just give 7 days, I mean, they used to say, right, if you do something for 30 days, it'll become a habit, right? We're talking 7 days. Do it for 7 days. It'd be absolutely terrific. Well, thank you so much, Steve. We appreciate all that you do. 7 Days Manifestation Experiment. It's a book. Run out, get it on Amazon. I think it will definitely shift your life. So thank you so much. I appreciate all that you've given us here today.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on the show, Cece.
That is great having you. All right, everyone. You're listening to WGSN-DB Going Solo Network. This is the Author's Corner. Meet the author. I'm Cece Shatz, the Doyenne of Relationships. I want to thank you so much for joining us. I want to thank our wonderful sponsors here today, GoingSoloCommunity.com and MeetTheRightOne.com. If you want to create a shift in your life, run out today, buy the book, The 7-Day Manifestation Experiment. You certainly want to create something positive in your life. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.